Let's talk about the Home Office's latest bid to deal with the one-in, one-out migration issue and the little exchange scheme we've got. Little. It's almost like I went on the Bristol Bordeaux exchange when I was a 13-year-old. It's almost like we've got one of those. Claire Pearce, you're a former Conservative government advisor in the Home Office. We've had 31,000 plus and counting in so far this year since January the 1st arriving on boats that we know about. And we've sent 3 back to France. We don't even know whether some 3 or more have come back from France. They haven't told us.
I mean, it was always going to be this way, wasn't it? I mean, where's the deterrent? Because they were busy removing a couple of people last week, and then, what was it, 900 arrived on a boat across a weekend. And you sort of think, well, that's really working well, isn't it? Thanks, Keir, for that.
Yep. You've got to laugh or else you'd cry. Let's talk about this with Mark Littlewood. He's Director of Popular Conservatism. It's all going terribly well, isn't it, Mark?
It's risible, isn't it, Julia? I mean, utterly hopeless. I mean, I was never taken with this French exchange scheme, even if it worked. But what have we learned, right? What we've learned is our politicians can't do anything because it all gets gummed up in the courts anyway.
Every time.
And I mean, this is pathetic. I mean, I've got a tiny smidgen of sympathy for a legal challenge about the Conservatives' defunct Rwanda scheme. I suppose you might be able to just about mount an argument that although Parliament decreed that Rwanda was safe, that there's some evidence that it wasn't. But
apart from the fact that the UN and other bodies in the EU, I think, have sent people back there.
I mean, what we've got to do is to get this out of the hands of the courts and back into the hands of elected politicians. There's no point, really, in just having an immigration minister if anything that he or she does is just going to be subject to lawfare and not even get off the ground. Now, I think even if this French scheme was working as planned, it's a rounding error, isn't it? But nevertheless, the fact that it's subject to legal action against it, it's just pathetic.
Well, indeed. Well, I mean, look, but yesterday, I mean, we talk about an Eritrean. They got three people out, but an Eritrean migrant. He claimed he was the victim of modern slavery. He didn't remember to mention this when he was first interviewed, but 3 days later, after assuming a refugee lawyer had got in touch, it turns out he was a victim of modern slavery and he needs more time to make his claim. But lawyers for the Home Secretary have been warned that the temporary block was causing real damage, they say, to the public interest. Well, yeah, but as you say, even if this scheme worked, even if they got it up to the pilot scheme aim of about 50 out and 50 in a week, we're still no better off, are we?
Yeah, and I wonder, I'm starting to think, Julia, that we're tackling this down the wrong end of the telescope. Obviously, we're going to need deportations to work better, and we're going to have to change our legal system to do that. But the big issue is the magnet that is pulling people in. If you are willing to offer rooms in hotels, a very high chance of staying, lots of welfare,
free work on the black, work on the black market, £300 taxes to your doctor.
Yeah, I mean, if all of that is on offer, then, I suppose you can gather up a handful and kick them out, but they are going to be arriving literally by the boatload. So you've got to change that magnetic pull factor. If you don't do that...
Absolutely. And by all accounts, I mean, the boats are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, so we have fewer boats. They go, there are fewer boats, but they're now carrying, 65 migrants when they used to carry 30 migrants. But apparently they're going to be moving to, I kid you not, 18-metre. I mean, we are how on earth? We are talking about a huge boat. These are like sort of yacht-sized boats, dinghies, which are going to be even more dangerous with hundreds of people on board. God knows what deaths we're going to see. But then, you choose to get on one of these things. Frankly, you're taking your own chances, in my view.
Yes, I mean, I can sort of see that argument. I mean, I think where we've got to be practical and realistic is you were mentioning earlier in the show, Julia, that sort of if Europe wants to open its borders country to country, so be it. But we're an island, it should be easier. I wonder if that's the case. I mean, I don't know what the total length of the British coastline is. It's going to be colossal. If you are absolutely determined to make it from mainland Europe to some spot on the British coastline, it's pretty difficult to stop you. I mean, we should try. The English Channel needs to be better policed. But we basically, despite being an island, or perhaps because we're an island, we have pretty porous borders. It's not that difficult to set foot on a British beach and make it inland. So that being the case, I'm of the view that, by all means, we've got to change the legal system, make it easier to kick people out. We probably need a third country to render people to for these cases like, here is the evidence that I was in modern slavery. But you've got to stop the flow not just deal with the stock. That's the key
the
thing.
government says, I mean, we've got lots of concern, and we've seen with the asylum hotels, although there's an argument, at least we know where they are in asylum hotels rather than living next door to us. But Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, is going to apparently attempt to deport an Ethiopian asylum seeker. This, again, let's call him what he is. He's a legal migrant. Within weeks, he was jailed for 12 months yesterday for sexually assaulting a 14-year-old schoolgirl and also a woman who tried to protect her. He said, I want to have your baby, touched her on the thigh. I mean, like, it just blatant. He arrived days earlier. This prompted all these protests outside the Bell Hotel in Epping. And again, that thing that never happens has happened again. And he's been jailed for 12 months, but of course it won't be 12 months. It'll be a few months at best. But the Home Secretary said she's going to deport him. I bet you anything he'll be able to claim to his lawyers that because he's got this conviction, this sexual assault conviction, that he would be facing, persecution in Ethiopia, and therefore we couldn't possibly send him back. I bet you anything that's the argument they use in the asylum tribunal.
Yeah, you could well be right. And this is where we need some completely straightforward black and white rules, right? It needs to be, I think, if you have committed an offence which could lead to a prison sentence, you're out. No questions, no issues.
Don't care what happens to you after. It's not a problem.
That is on you. You made it here. You were not obliged to sexually assault someone or commit a criminal offence. You chose to do so. Here, I'm afraid, is the punishment. But we are going to be so gummed up in human rights laws and refugee conventions and modern slavery conventions. I mean, I'm not saying we should rip all of that up, right? If you really can prove that you're a law-abiding person who is fleeing slavery, I will give you an absolutely fair hearing.
Yeah.
But we cannot believe that that is what is happening in the broad sweep in the majority.
And also the fact that they're mostly young men. It's amazing how many women don't appear to be victims of these crimes, isn't it? Martin Littlewood, thank you for joining us. So much more I want to talk to you about, but so much more to go on the show.